What's going on, everyone? So we're out working on the Honda today because after so many miles it does not want to start. We are in the cabin of the car and it is god awful hot because these windows won't roll down, which you wonder why. I'll show you. Just check this out. Put the key in, you hear the signal, door open, yada yada, but then turn the key. No lights come on the dash. Switches. Nothing's coming down. Nothing will work. Dome lights. Nothing will work in the car. So, but watch, when you go to bump the starter, it'll do that. Well, check this out. As soon as you release it again, nothing. So, I'm kind of wondering what's going on here. And I am seeing the flashing key there. So that's there. I'm wondering if the anti-theft, something's going on there. So, I've got two guesses. Maybe the anti-theft, because there's the flashing key, or the ignition switch down here. Because you've got a cylindrical switch at the end of your ignition cylinder that rotates and makes contact. So if it'll make power, like it'll get power in one position, but then as soon as you switch it back to the last position and it won't get any more power, I'm wondering if that's what's going on, if the ignition switch itself. But we'll see, because that little key, that always flashes, always. Whenever you turn the ignition on or off, key on or off, that little key always flashes. So, given the fact that it's not getting any power to any of the things anywhere else, I'm gonna 90% sure say that that is going to be the ignition switch gone out, because I'll show you other things too. So you can come here just immediately to the left of the steering wheel and you can just pull this panel off, and there's some fuses behind it and a diagram on the panel. I already pulled that and there's nothing, no fuses bad, anything at all in there. And then coming back up in here, you pop this little guy off. You pop this little guy off. And you can check all the fuses on the diagram. You can look and see what everything is, where it's at. There's even a handy little fuse puller in there in case you don't have some needle nose or something. Well, I went through, I checked the main fuse, I checked any fuse that had anything to do with starting, ignition, power, EC, whatever, you know, any kind of computer stuff, anything like that. I checked it, all fuses, good to go. Even the spare fuses are still there. So, with that in mind, that leads me back to my original suspect of the ignition switch itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come under here. This is directly under the steering wheel. And I'm going to remove these 3 screws so that this little panel can come off. Come on. And you just let them drop on your floorboard, no big deal. Okay, so it turns out you just come up over the top and you pull the top piece off, and then you drop this lever and it allows the whole thing to just fall off. But what we're looking for is this guy right here on the end of your ignition cylinder. And if you can see, there's 2 screws that keep that in there, and then I believe there is an electrical connector up over here that might need taken out. And then I want to say there's another electrical connector to take on the other end of this, but it's just the 2 screws, I believe, to actually take this out, and then that should be the hardest part. Now, the next little bugger up in there, you're not going to easily get without the screwdriver, so I grabbed a little 1/4-inch ratchet and the little Phillips head guy there, and hell, that's already freaking loose. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. Generally bad. Oh, my fingers. Alright, now that we're up top, I wanted to show you something. So, the switch to take the cover off, it's a little bit farther to the left and down. There's another screw that actually holds on the top part of that little piece there for your ignition where the key goes in. Don't take that out. Ask me how I know in the comments. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come to the side here, and I probably should have done this in the beginning. We're going to pull our fuse panel there, and there's going to be a screw. I think it's just one screw here, and we have to pop this off and then get to the harness connector to be able to disconnect that module. Alright, so you can see after I got that little screw out from the backside up there that this just pops right off, and make sure you pay attention to this. That's a little like retaining clip that's up there. You can just take a little flathead screwdriver or a pick or something and pop that, and this little guard comes off and your ignition switch is visible. Now remember, disconnect your battery before you do any of this. So there's the ignition switch. Okay, I lied. It was one screw up here and then another screw down there. And then all this sort of just pops on down. And there's a screw in there that I don't know where it came from, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I got my ignition switch passed back through here and now out of this. And then I unhooked this wiring connector and unhooked that. Now I've got to come up under here and disconnect it from up under in here. Okay, I'm able to reach my hand up in there, and I've got medium sized hands, not too big, not too small. And on the side closest to me, I can feel a little catch for the connector. So I'm going to pop that and wiggle that connector back and forth until I can feel that sucker come loose. Or I'm going to have to go get a pick or something and push the connector, or push the end while I wiggle the connector. Just kidding, I fiddled with it a little bit more and got it to pop out of there. And that's what we're looking at. You see in there, you just feel in there, push that down, just start wiggling that out. Now we have our ignition switch out. And hopefully I can run up to the junkyard and get a new used one just to get me by. Alright, now using a screwdriver, pick, pocket knife, whatever, what have you, I took the top off of this ignition switch to inspect it. And I'm going to go ahead and say this is probably what was going on with it. I mean, just look at the inside of that. Those contacts were toast. Like, it is just a true testament to Honda engineering that this thing would even still start at all. Let's take an interlude. We're at West 29th Street Auto, and this place is pretty dang awesome. It's one of my favorite salvage yards in Pueblo, probably the whole area. Really great guys. They give you great prices on stuff. Behind me sits another 98 Honda Accord, so let's take a look inside of that. So someone has already done us the favor of stripping off all the panels. They even took this out, so the harness that we need is just chilling right here. I don't even have to cramp my hand up unplugging it or anything. I just have to do this screw, and that one little screw up on the backside over here, and this sucker is basically out and ready to go. So let's get that done. After a little bit more persuasion, this car yielded up its ignition switch, and man, look at that. In comparison to the one I just pulled off, holy cow, look at that ignition switch. That's like practically new. The contact popped out, and like it almost came apart. The other one was so gunked up and corroded and just arced and messed up that it wasn't even coming apart. This one's practically new compared to the other one. So I'm going to plug this in at home here in just a minute, but you won't know that because it's movie magic time, and we're going to see how this works. Keep our fingers crossed. Here we go, moment of truth. Let's put the key in. Oh, looky there, we got power. Roll the window up and down. Shift it into neutral. Here we go. Look at that. Listen to her purr. All right. Hell yeah. Oh, that feels good. So now I got to go back and just button all this stuff up, which is not hard. Don't have any bolts left over, okay? Couple of quick reassembly tips before we get too far and I have to end the video. Don't put this panel up until the very end, because for some reason this piece right here likes to bind. I don't know, but it would not fit right until I took this off, and then the screws went up in there just fine, so whatever. And then another thing that'll cause you problems is your wiring harness that plugs in or to your fuse box over here. When you go to plug it in, before you do, make sure you feed it back through that metal loop that's right here underneath the column. So put it in and then feed it back through and then plug it in, because if you don't, you're going to have to take all this stuff back off again and feed it through anyway. So just do it the first time. And then that's about it for the reassembly. Oh, magnetize your freaking tools, because that little screw that's on the back of this here, if I had a magnetizer, demagnetizer laying around somewhere, this would have went a lot faster. Cannot stress how much you should get one of those little tools for this job. But that's about it. Let me get the rest of this buttoned up and we'll do an outro. Just goes to show, with a little logic, you can fix your own car right on the side of the road if you have to. It's not even that big of a deal, and you'll be back running again in no time. Y'all take care. Thank you.